last week we learned about how to do microservices with Node.js and Express. And in that, we built a e-commerce platform where we could add products to cart, view products, and modify our shopping cart. One of the key drawbacks of the last week's projects were the data that we were using or sourcing was from JSON file. So it was hard-coded data, which is not scalable, and we cannot just simply put all our data in static text files or Excel files or JSON files. It doesn't just scale. What do I mean by scale? You can't continue to add more products without needing to restart your entire system or rebuild your entire project. So plain and simple, we cannot do that. So to source our data primarily, especially with Node.js projects, MongoDB has gotten a lot of fame. MongoDB is a NoSQL database where data is stored in a non-linear or non-relational structure, and you can store the data as you see in the screen, like an array or an object or or any data structure you like. It doesn't restrict you. Uh, Essentially, MongoDB stores your data as key value pairs. And to get started with MongoDB, traditionally we needed to install for our local development MongoDB in our local machines, and that's what you would see in the tutorial video that's there in the course content. But instead of uh, doing the MongoDB installation on our machines and using it completely locally, we can use MongoDB Compass, which is a cloud provided MongoDB instance for us to readily use in our project. So if you have not used MongoDB Compass before, yeah, let me make this bigger. You will need to create a new account, and usually you can register on MongoDB Compass using your Gmail or any other or GitHub account. And once you register, you might be presented with certain options, and you can select the options as you feel free to. They do not ask for any credit card or anything when you're registering, so that's good. Uh, and then once you're there, this is important. Please make sure you select the free instance and select when you're presented with which option you want, M10 or Flex or free. Please select free. For our projects, free instance is enough. It provides us enough memory, 512 MB as of today, which is enough. And once you're there in the MongoDB, you will be asked to create a user. So you will need to click on create database user, provide any username and password you like that you can remember. Make sure it's a secure one, not like me, which is admin. Uh, and hit create database. Any confusion till this point? Because I cannot repeat the steps. Um, uh, I cannot repeat the steps that I have already done. So uh, for you guys, I'm giving this. So again, make sure you select right options and then create the free instance and then create the database user. Once you have created the database user, you would be able to see your screen like this, something like this, and then you can do browse collections, or you should be able to uh, sort of go into your cluster. So make sure you have a cluster like this. Click on cluster and hit on connect. Once you hit on connect, it will give you this MongoDB URI. Copy it somewhere and hope you have remembered your password from the previous step when you created the user. And you sort of remember the URI that when you hit on cluster and then connect, copy it somewhere. We are going to need it handy. So that is how you can use MongoDB Compass. Any confusions here? MongoDB is actually very famous. You might have heard about mean stack or mon stack. So M there stands for MongoDB, E stands for Express, and N stands for Node.js. A and R can be Angular or React. But yeah, any confusions on how to get started with MongoDB Compass? Because if you guys are not through with the step, the project will not run. Okay, so that's why it's important that you guys are sure on this. Okay, so with that, once your MongoDB is up, and you will know it when you go on cluster and then you see some green dot here, we can go back to our project and start modifying the code. And before we start to modify our code, let's look at the how MongoDB is, right? So MongoDB has traditionally a database, and inside database we don't call them tables, we call it collection. And in collection we have documents which are like your traditional database is rows, and then field which is key value pair. So what do I mean by that is, let me go back here, uh, and you can see your collections, your tables here. So here, this is my collection. Products is collection. So I am replacing my JSON product with a collection product, and we'll see how this is replaced. And then these are documents inside the. So each entry is a document, and then uh, each line is a field. Does that make sense? Stop me if you guys are confused. So little bit of MongoDB, and I suggest you study more on MongoDB. But for now, let me delete this view to start fresh. Now we don't have anything. This they provide, but sample and flex, we don't need that. So with that, first and foremost, in our project, instead of using the JSON file, we are going to connect to the database and then uh, do the fetching of products. So today you are going to be acting as administrator of the website, not the actual person who is buying the shopping cart items. So first and foremost, we go here and we define uh, no, this aside. So we define. So first, to work with MongoDB, we need a library called Mongoose. So we are going to npm install Mongoose in our project, and then we are going to take the URL that, remember, we got when we were on the cluster and we said connect, and it was giving us the URL. So we are going to copy that URL and create a variable. And this is the standard syntax that Mongoose provides, which is mongoose.connect. Simple. Mongo.connect, and then you provide your URL. Make sure in the URL you replace your username and password. For me, it's admin, so it doesn't. Admin, you guys give better I have better password. I'm going to anyway after this class delete the collection, so this password is anyways not going to work. Uh, with that said, uh, this is the sample code of how you connect to the database. Remember, we are just connected to the database. The step two is define the schema. Define how our product is going to look like. So how do you know how it's going to look like? So going back to our previous week's example, our product had three fields: ID, name, and price. So we are going to create a new file, models, under a new folder, models and product, and we are going to exactly create the same schema. ID, we call it more descriptive product ID, name, and price, and we say they are required fields. And what are the types of them? So product ID is string, name is string, and this is number. And then we are going to create a model based on this schema. So once we do that, our project has an ability to interact with MongoDB and interact with this uh, collection, or if you want to, in simpler terms, understand the uh, table. So this product table, to interact with product table, we are going to use Mongo's schema to define how the my products look like. So step one, we create the database connection. Step two, we create the schema for our product. So let's say if you were working with shopping cart, you would need to create a new file here called cart.js under model and create an object like this. And let's say however many different tables you want in your database, you need this kind of a file. And once this is the, and let me stop here for 10 seconds because we are sort of covering very deep topics. So I don't want to rush past and have you guys be confused. So I'll wait for 10 seconds for you guys to form any questions you might have. Okay, no questions, moving on. We have created data, how to connect to database, and we have created a schema which tells how our table in the database is going to look like. The next step is to modify our product controller that we had created last week. So let me go back to our product controller. Our product controller was simply reading the data from the database and just doing the operations in memory. Today, we are going to use the model instead of the JSON file. So for all purposes, I am going to delete this so that there's no confusion. Um, so it's connecting to our product. Then to get our product, all we say is on the Mongoose collection product.find and pass empty parameter. So please find everything that is there. Please give me everything that is there in our database. Then simply then again to get product by ID, we say product.find one, where product ID matches the ID that is provided from the request. Very simple as last week we did. Uh, get product by ID. We got the ID from request parameter and we did find on a local array. Instead, we are going to do it on a database table. Uh, and then the third operation is how to create a new product. So this is product.simple, product.create, and whatever response we had passed. So these three are core APIs. We'll go into the other APIs later in the class. But understand these three. So we are doing product.find. So product is nothing but a Mongo schema. This object is a Mongo schema that we defined in previous step. And uh, we are now using find and find one to create find to get everything, find one to get just one product, and create to create the this new product. So once our controller is updated, our route file that we created last week. So we are follow through this logic from model to controller to our route file. Now we are defining all the routes. Product.get by ID, get all products. Product.get and colon ID is product by ID. Class is create product, uh, update and delete. So straightforward route definition. We are going to leverage the methods inside our controller to do all of these operations, and controller in turn is using the Mongoose model. So again, uh, defining the hierarchy, we are handling the product route into our route file. Product route file is going to product controller, which is having all the definitions of how to handle each route. And then product controller in turn goes to Mongoose schema to uh, create, delete, or get products. And in turn, Mongo schema is going to the MongoDB compass that the where we created the account. Any confusions in this hierarchy chain? You see, this can get a little confusing, but let me try to write it down here. So product route goes to product controller, which leverages Mongo schema, and Mongo schema is leveraging the database connection we made, and database connection is in turn going to MongoDB compass. Please understand this entire journey of our microservice or our API call completely end to end through the code till the MongoDB compass. If you miss any of the steps, then you'll get too much confused. So I'm open to explaining this entire path again if anybody has confusion. So once this entire stuff is established, the final step is to go to our server.js and actually use our database connection file and initialize the database. So connect to the database using our database connection file that we had created. So how does that look like? So once you do that and do npm start, and okay, it should not have, sorry. Still is copy. I apologize. The other file is still using it. So now we see we have connected to our database and server is running. So now look at the magic. We are getting the empty data even though we have the JSON file in our project, even though we have the data JSON file, but because we are not using it, we are getting the empty product. Because in our database, if you go here, you go to our database, there is no, so there is product is there, but there is no uh, product still. So let's create a product. So we are going to say, please create me a product P1 laptop and price is 200. So we are again using Postman today to do all of this. We are not going to use browser or any other stuff. Not we are not going to create a UI to do this. We are leveraging Postman to do this. So with that, let's hit the API. This will create the product. So now we got a success. It is created. Now let's go back to our collection and refresh. And now we are seeing our product is in our database. How cool. So from our system, we push the product to cloud. So, and we have the timestamp as well when it was created and updated. Now I have created, and I'll share this because I can't create all the products manually. So I have created a small Node.js script, which will create 20 products for us. I'm going to run the script now, and I'll try. You guys can learn. I mean, it's not important for you guys to learn about the script. It just like rather than me having to do this 20 times, I am just doing through a script. But I mean, for all purposes, you guys could do it. They used to have a refresh button here, but I don't know why they removed it. So we have 20 different items here that I put in. So with that, let's go to our API. And previously we had empty. We hit it. So again, we are not restarting our Node.js server, anything. We are getting all the 20 products back. Then we created a route to get the product by ID. So P1 is ID. We can still do that. We are getting the P1. We are not going to see the create again. Then let's say you want to uh, update the product. Then we can use the put call that we have defined here in our product route. So much products today. Put to update, and we want to say that please update the product to updated product name, and it's updated. So going back, get product by ID, we can see that our product 2 is updated name. So this is directly happening in the database now. Very similarly, we can delete the product as well. Let's say we want to delete the product 20. We have now deleted product 20, and let's try to find the product by 20. Product with product ID not found. So this is simple. Once you have your mongoose and everything set up properly, this becomes easy. All of the CRUD operations. So this is how you actually deal with CRUD operations and this. So last week I wanted to show you guys something. I am logged in hopefully this time with the Postman. What I like is creating new collection. So what is collection? Is let's say e-commerce product. And now I can go to my collection and is save this as to e-commerce collection, and I can give name get okay, products. And this week I can name as get product by ID. Now I don't need to remember, and I have an example of how to run my APIs. Let's create one. One more. So product, create product. Then this one was update product. So this eliminates the use of using a UI or a browser, and you can work with Postman directly. And let's say if I had everything closed, uh, I could come back tomorrow and I could click on get all products and send and get the response. Get product by ID, let's say two. I don't need to remember my API routes anymore, and I'm good to go. So this is Postman collection that I wanted to show you guys last week. I think there is an ability to sort of run the collection as well. So you can actually, but we don't want to go there. Uh, Run the collection. So you can run all the APIs in your collection, and it will run and give you all the results. So Postman allows you to do a lot of stuff, and that's important tool. You guys should learn more deeply. One more key concept that we want to still cover is, let me go to my MongoDB. So right now I'm hard coding my MongoDB URL into my database connection. This is not a good practice. This is security violation. Anybody can read the code and look at my username and password. Instead, what we use is uh, environment variable, and to use environment variable, we have to npm first is we have to install .env, which gives you access to Node.js in environment variables. Once you have installed the .env, go to your server.js and just simply say required.env config. With that said, now you can create a new file in your project called env.env and provide all your secure stuff like username, password, URLs, and everything. And this is in here, instead of directly using the Mongo URL that we had created before, we can use, we can just comment this out, and we can use the connection URL, process.environment.connection URL. So process.env is coming from .env, and the connection URL, this name is coming from .env file. One more step, because other you guys might be confused. We still have the uh, security credentials in the code, but we are not never going to commit .env file. Instead, when you build your project, it automatically gets included in your build, and that's on the CI/CD and how to build the project. We are not going there today, but in simpler in git ignore, you will mention that I don't want to commit .env file. This way, your env along with your node modules is never going to be committed, and you are good to safely use it. And simply restarting the server should still be valid. Yes, so now we are using our Mongo connection from the .env file, and it's still all working. Any confusions here? Make sure you put .env in git ignore and never commit this, because otherwise, even if you're in your homework, if you do it, I could take your URL and go and mess up your MongoDB. database. You maybe like in real world, somebody might change the price and make it $5 instead of $500. You don't want. So you're never going to save your passwords and never going to put them in code. You're going to put them in environment variable. And there are more advanced technologies like firewall and so on and so forth. So we are not going there that deep, but understand the role of .env module and how to use it. Any questions here? We covered a lot of stuff here, but that's about it I want to cover. But I'm still open to the questions. Okay, I'll actually stop recording so you guys if you